Alright, for today's video review, we're going to finish off this 2-pack and take a look at Transformers Generations Comic Edition Autobot Flame, who again comes packaged with Emirate Xaaron here, who I took a look at in my last video. So we can see this is what the two of them look like together. Otherwise, I'll be taking him off and then bringing him back on later in the video. But yeah, Autobot Flame here is another one of those like Marvel Comics characters, which is cool to see in the comic edition line here. And again, I think that this is maybe the first figure we've ever gotten of this character. He's kind of an interesting design. I don't know a ton about the character. He seems like one of the, I don't know, kind of like a like old kind of evil-ish Autobots from like the Marvel Comics run. Like he is supposed to be a bad guy, even though he's an Autobot character, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I don't know a ton about him. But yeah, this is a remold of the Studio Series, actually, Gamer Edition War for Cybertron Megatron, which is an interesting use of this mold, which I was almost going to pick that guy up, and then I decided not to. I decided I didn't really need it. And yeah, this is a decent mold. So this is actually my first, actual exposure to the mold here. And he turns into a decent little Cybertronian tank here. Obviously very reminiscent of the War for Cybertron Megatron design with the little hover treads there, but it works I think well enough just as a typical Cybertronian mode here. In terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe, just so you see what he looks like with an average size deluxe there, and then here he is with Comic Edition Straxus, just so you can see what he looks like with another Comic Edition character. And yeah, like I said, I don't have either the Gamer Edition Megatron nor the original War for Cybertron Deluxe, so I don't really have him to compare with. And this is the only version of Flame that I have, so pretty much just these guys. But yeah, to get onto transformation, first thing you want to do is just take the whole barrel of the cannon here and just unpeg that like this, and we'll put that off to the side. Then you can take these sections. Oh, actually, first thing you want to do is actually take his chest plate here and untab it from the thighs there. And then you can take these sections and they'll tab in a couple places. They tab in underneath this section here, and then they pretty strongly clip into the body here. And you just want to rotate them on like this, and then rotate these bits forward. And then you want to take these sections, fold this down a little bit, and open up this orange panel just so you have the clearance to rotate out the robot mode foot and fold out, open the toe there. Then you can take this whole section and it will clip into the back of the leg, take this tread section and fold it in like that, and then this one just kind of folds in half over top of that. And then you can kind of bring this down as like heel support. The way that the legs sit is a little weird to me, but you can kind of bring it down like that, and then just do the same thing on the other side there. Again, just open that up, flip out the foot, close that up, and then close these up, and there we have his legs pretty much all done. And then you want to take this arm here, which made up the main turret section, which is another, I didn't show it off, but they can't rotate or anything. And you want to pull it up like this to unclip it from the body here, and then fold it out on this joint like that. Then we can take this panel here, open that up, then flip out the robot mode hand and close that back up. And then for this arm, it will just untab from the intersection here, tabs onto these two sections, folds up like that, and then we can unfold the arm, kind of clip the elbow into place here, and flip out the hand as well. And then you want to take this little panel here and just fold it down like that. Then you want to take his chest piece, fold it up like that onto the chest section, and then take this section, fold it down, rotate this bit around, and then double hinge this onto the back so it sits on him as some back detailing. And there we have Flame in his robot mode. And yeah, it's a pretty cool design. He obviously looks a little bit like a like an evil version of Hot Rod with the nice flame detail on the chest there. And it's mostly accurate to how he looked in the comics, mostly just in the resculpting here in terms of the head and the chest area. Though in the comics, really his head was a little bit more connected to his body, it kind of flowed into it. So he's a little bit more I guess normally proportioned than his comics version, but still, I feel like it still works pretty well. Now, in terms of articulation, the head is on a ball joint, can rotate around and then wiggle back and forth a little bit. The shoulders can rotate around like that and then fold out to the side. On this one, he's got this bit here, which kind of folds out of the way. Now, this is basically a kind of cheated section, since I'm pretty sure this is implied to be the same thing as this, which is only really necessary for Gamer Edition Megatron, since he had that shoulder detailing, whereas Flame doesn't really have that. So, I mean, if you wanted to, you could just like take this piece off, and honestly, I think that looks a little bit cleaner, and he just has one less superfluous part to kind of like have on there, so it makes him a little bit more symmetrical. So personally, I prefer to just leave that off, but you know, it's really easy to take off and put back on, so you know, you can kind of see which you like better. But I'll just leave it on there for the rest of the video there. I put it on backwards though. But yeah, it's you know, it gets out of the way in terms of articulation, but I just don't think he really needs that there. Then, you know, this shoulder can also do that as well, even though it functions a little differently. He's got a bicep swivel kind of right below his sort of secondary elbow joint. He does have kind of a double jointed elbow here. This side, it's mostly for transformation, although he does have it on this side too, even though he doesn't need it. So, you know, it's kind of nice that it's at least symmetrical there. He does have a waist cut. Hips can go forward and back and out to the side. He's got a thigh swivel. Now, he only has about that much of bend at the knee. This is like an infamous problem with the Gamer Edition Megatron, though these little tabs here do not serve any purpose whatsoever. So if you're comfortable doing it, you can just snip those right off and improve his knee articulation. I'll probably do that right after this video. In fact, I might just do that now just to demonstrate. There we go, easy peasy, just used a couple of little snippers there, and yeah, look, his knees work just fine. So it takes a second to do, it's really not the end of the world that he's got that issue there, and now he's got a much better degree of motion in the knees. I don't know what the story is behind that. There was a lot of discourse around those little bits when Gamer Edition Megatron came out, but it's really not a very difficult fix if you just have a small pair of wire cutters. But yeah, so he's got that much articulation in the knee after you do that fix, and then his feet here, they can fold forward, they can fold back, though you have to move this panel out of the way to actually, keep it having it have that angle words, and then they can tilt kind of out to the side a little bit, not a ton there, just because of how they're kind of like compressed into the legs. But yeah, so after you do the knee fix, pretty decent articulation there. Obviously, you can give him his gun here and attach it to his arm like it was on Gamer Edition Megatron. You can also just have him like hold it. I find that the angles don't perfectly work there. Like you have to push it into his hand, and it's kind of pushing it up at an angle like that because of this piece here, but otherwise he holds it okay and it looks fine. But yeah, it's a little weird. It fits a little bit better in his other hand since the forearms are shaped slightly differently, so that works okay as well. I tend to not have it on his arm like Megatron, just because like I kind of want to differentiate him from the source mold here. In terms of storage, I just plug it onto his back like that, and then it kind of looks like he's got like a, I don't know, some sort of like canister or something for flamethrowers or whatever on his back there, which works for me. And again, like I said, I like to take this bit off, but to each their own. So yeah, decent articulation that works as storage for the weapon there for me. And honestly, if it had to just go on his arm, that would have been fine too, but I definitely prefer it this way. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is again with Kingdom Sideswipe, just so you can see what it looks like with an average size deluxe here. Here he is with Gamer Edition, with Comic Edition Straxus, so you can see what they look like together. I feel like that works fairly well. And then here he is with Emirate Xaaron again. Also, I forgot to do this in his video, but I want to show him off with Impactor, just so you can see what the two of them look like together, since they're supposed to be, kind of like, I'm pretty sure that's the origin of Founding the Wreckers, is like those two know each other. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't read the Marvel comics, so forgive me if I've gotten anything wrong, but I figured I'd show the two of them off together. But yeah, that was a pretty decent set overall. I like this mold, all things considered. I'm kind of fine with the fact that I passed on Megatron. Like, he's not my favorite thing in the world, but it's a decent mold, and after you do that fix there's no like real major problems with it. Like, this arm is maybe a little bit loose, but it's honestly not terrible. And the transformation, is decently fun there. I don't think he really needs the little extra cheated bit, but it's easy to take off. And, again, he's fine. The refractor mold is not like amazing by any standards, but it gets the job done, and it's nice to have a version of each of these characters. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to them, and pretty much all there is to this set in general. Like I said, if you want to see my video on Emirate Xaaron, just go ahead and check that out. That was my last video on the channel. And yeah, without further ado, here we have Transformers Gamer. Now that I've talked about Gamer Edition, since he's the Comic Edition, Emirate Xaaron and Flame.